Thank you for joining today's webinar, the Complete GIS Platform. The webinar is part of the GeoConnects webinar series for utilities and telecommunications by Esri. Hello, my name is Randy France, and I'm Telecommunications Industry Strategy Lead for Esri. I'd like to thank you for taking the time out today to join our webinar. I think you're going to find it very interesting, very informative, and going to help you understand how a complete GIS platform can be used in your organization. First, I'd like to introduce some of our speakers today. Joining me today is Patrick Hulls. He is a technical evangelist for the telecommunications industry. He is responsible for understanding the technology needs of the telecom market, rapid prototyping, and solution development using GIS technology and GIS outreach within telecommunications. Prior to his work at Esri, Patrick was a GIS analyst with a consulting firm that worked closely with large utility, construction, and engineering firms on utility and telecom construction projects. There, Patrick designed and built an enterprise-wide GIS system which incorporated server, desktop, web, and mobile components. Also joining us today is Joseph Marsh. Joseph is a technical evangelist on the Patterns and Practices team at Esri. He creates business solutions for the electric and gas utility communities with GIS. He has a strong passion for GIS and education. He also teaches GIS fundamentals to 11 to 15-year-old girls in Riverside for the Ignite Leadership Academy. Today's webinar, Complete GIS Platform, is part of the 2018 GeoConnects webinar series. The series has been put together to give you a more complete understanding of how a GIS platform can be used within utilities and telecommunication organizations. Today will be basic overview of the GIS platform, and then following up in other sessions, we will cover things like data management on April 18th. Data management is a critical component of the ArcGIS platform and any kind of GIS implementation. We'll go into details of data management, as well as cover the ArcGIS Utility Network Management extension, which is currently available for gas, electric, and in the future, telecommunications. Our next session will be in May, and we'll cover monitoring. Key component of GIS is the ability to monitor network assets, those mobile as well as fixed assets. A lot of sensors are being deployed in networks, and monitoring and getting real-time data back is critical to maintaining, managing those, and operating those networks. We'll also be covering a geoevent. We'll be closing out the spring portion of our series by looking at constituent engagement. This is really providing coverage maps, outage maps, and visibility into operations and the network, and delivering maps to all the stakeholders that are external to an organization. We'll be taking a brief break in the summertime, and then coming back in the fall, we'll be covering field mobility on September 12th. Field mobility is critical in utilities and telecommunications due to the large number of field personnel that need access to real-time and network asset information. It's estimated that 70 to 80% of all workers within these industries are mobile, and giving them access to the information on any device, anytime, anywhere is critical for them to be able to perform their business and their job functions. We'll be closing out the series with analytics on October 10th. Analytics is critical to understanding what is going on in the network and to be able to manage and operate the networks. So analytics will be covered on our last session. And if you can't make any of these particular sessions, don't worry, all the webinars are recorded and the links will be shared with the attendees. So don't forget to register and make sure that you get the link even if you can't attend the actual webinar itself. Let's cover a little bit of logistics here. If you can hear me loud and clear, great. If you can't, you have the option of switching between telephone and the speakers on your PC. So that is outlined there at the top of the block. You can also adjust your view. We'll be showing you a lot of different graphics, a lot of visualization, a lot of demos, and if you want to be able to go to full screen, you can make that happen as well. Next, if we want you to be able to ask questions during these presentation. So don't feel like you have to wait till the end to be able to put in those questions that you have. Feel free to type them in and then click submit. We'll be collecting those questions and then we'll be answering them at the Q&A session near the end. This is what we'll be covering today. As I said, we'll be looking at the Complete GIS Platform and how it's being used for the telecommunications and utility industries. We'll also be looking at some of the common uses and patterns of the ArcGIS. We have a very large number of customers, and they have what we've seen is there's some common patterns that they're using for their deployments. We'll also be looking at what's new in ArcGIS 10, our latest release. Then we'll be covering the ArcGIS architecture, getting a better understanding of what's the best way to implement the ArcGIS platform, and give you some tips and tricks on how to leverage the architecture that's available. And then my favorite section is really the getting started section. When you sit through a presentation, you hear all the things that are, you get all jazzed up with things that you can do, but then you go back to the office and it's like, well, where do I get started? It's not the end of our support. During this presentation, we'll show you ways to leverage the resources that we currently have on the web, as well as who to contact if you want additional information and assistance on your implementation. So be sure to take notes from that, and we'll give the information on how to get started at the end. Well, one of the questions that we need to address is, why do we need an ArcGIS platform? Why do we need a location platform? And really, the reason is because all the transformation that is occurring within our industries, and that it runs the gamut from electric to gas to telecommunications. And we call this digital transformation. There's so much going on with the network, with the technology of the network, and also that is impacting our business processes. So we need to be able to understand what's going on in the network, how this new technology is behaving, being able to monitor it, and be able to respond to it. And a lot of the things that you see up there are really driving us to new business models as well. We see smart grid, the intelligent meters, the smart cities, augmented reality up there, the Internet of Things, where literally there's billions of devices out there now that are going to act as sensors, and taking that data in, analyzing it, being able to act upon that data. You really do need a GIS. So these are all creating new requirements for GIS, and fortunately with the ArcGIS platform, we're keeping up and even ahead of the game for being able to do a lot of these functions that are necessary. Asset management, customer records information, because the assets are changing so fast from technology and customers, new services are available. It's no longer possible to have these static databases or paper records. You now need to have that information very, very available to everyone at their fingertips, and it changes daily. I just got a call last week from my service provider, and they were changing the telecommunication services that was available in my home. And if I wanted to order that, I needed to call back. I needed to get that information immediately. And that means the salespeople, the installation people, all those people that are in the field now need to have the information of what services are available, what new network capabilities have been delivered, have been activated, and they need to have it on any device, anytime, and anywhere. And also, we need to have better analytics. We've got this new capabilities, we've got these new sensors, these new devices out in the network. Now we need to be able to put them in somewhere and be able to show them on dashboards, being able to get that information to the decision makers so they can make the proper decisions and know how to move forward. And lastly, we really need to ensure that we have the capabilities going forward to take advantage of all these new potential revenue and service opportunities, working with the Internet of Things, using big data analytics. Some companies are looking to ask or answer the question, how can I monetize my data? So they're getting all this data in, how can they monetize it? Well, GIS is a great way to be able to do that, and the ArcGIS platform delivers on that. The ability to take information in, not just describe it, but also use that in a predictive way to predict scenarios of what could happen, what might happen within a network, and really stay ahead of the customer experience and the customer needs. Now, what I'd like to do right now is give you a poll, give you a chance to give us a little bit of feedback here. I'd like to get a sense of, how long has your organization been using GIS? So feel free to click on that. Have you been using GIS, or your organization has been using GIS for less than a year, or perhaps a little bit more experience, maybe 1 to 3 years, or even more, 4 to 7, or more than 7 years. So let's give us a feel for where we are in the spectrum of GIS usage. Give it a few more seconds here. Still have some more results coming in. Have a lot of attendees today. All right. Sharing the results here. Wow, this is really impressive. We have people, 62% have had more than 7 years their organization has been using the GIS, and then evenly split there a little bit between the 1 to 3 and the 4 to 7. But we have a group here also that hasn't, that's relatively new to GIS, and that's great. We'll be covering in depth the capabilities here and be able to share that with everyone. So with that, what I'd like to do is turn it over to Patrick Hulls, and he's going to be talking and explaining how a complete GIS platform works.
Thank you, Randy. So as mentioned, as technology has advanced and new requirements for the GIS have emerged, we've needed to re-engineer ArcGIS as a complete GIS platform for utilities and telecommunications. And we view a complete GIS platform as not just one GIS system, but actually a system of systems working together to support how people and organizations really want to use and collaborate around technology. And so those core GIS systems that make a complete GIS platform are a system of engagement, system of record, system of insights, system for IoT, and a system for developers. And within each of these systems, we've noticed a common set of patterns or ways that organizations really use these GIS systems. So for a GIS system of record, the two most common patterns here are data management and design and planning. And GIS has traditionally been used for that data management and really managing the location of physical assets like network facilities and customer address locations. But now a new pattern is emerging for GIS to help plan, optimize, and evaluate where to deploy new network to support new products and services in areas like renewables or 5G. And GIS is being turned to more and more as a system of engagement to really empower everyone with geography. And the common patterns for using a GIS system of engagement are to support that decision-making, enabling field mobility, constituent engagement, and in really improving the sharing and collaboration across the different teams and departments. Now, one area that we have seen GIS provide tremendous value is in decision support, especially in network operations. And we now have customers bringing up maps and dashboards right in the boardroom. And getting data from a GIS system of record out to the field was once thought of as a difficult task. But with a GIS system of engagement, it's just another aspect of a complete GIS platform, enabling users to work anywhere and from any device. And a third pattern is constituent engagement. More and more utilities and telecommunication organizations are wanting to improve customer experience by sharing outage maps and restoration time maps and service availability maps, and really directly engaging with their customers through maps. And finally, none of these patterns would really be possible if a GIS system of engagement wasn't specifically engineered to empower everyone in an organization to easily discover, use, make, and share geographic information through an intuitive mapping portal. Now, the third GIS system of a complete GIS platform is a system of insights, which helps turn data from that system of record into actionable intelligence. And the two patterns here are analytics and mapping and visualization. And it's still amazing to see how much value and insight a simple, well-symbolized thematic map can bring to departments within an organization that has never seen geographic information on a dynamic, interactive web map. And analytics, or spatial analysis, has always been at the heart and soul of GIS, but new spatial tools and things like artificial intelligence and machine learning are allowing organizations to analyze big data like never before, and even starting to predict trends within their network. A GIS system for the Internet of Things, or IoT, is all about making the GIS come alive. And the most common pattern here is monitoring. No longer are the days of waiting for data to be input into the GIS in order to see the latest snapshot of what's going on in the business. With the GIS system for IoT, real-time sensor feeds and asset information can enable organizations to monitor all aspects of the GIS in real time in order to have that real-time view of how their business is running. And finally, a GIS system for developers, which really spans the other four systems and enables agile development of new business apps on top of the complete GIS platform. And there are many options for developers utilizing the ArcGIS platform. There are two app builder frameworks, one for quickly configuring web applications and another for configuring mobile applications, native apps that can be deployed once and run on iOS or Android devices. And there's a variety of runtime software development kits, SDKs, and web application programming interfaces, APIs, that allow for new applications to be developed quickly and for a complete GIS platform to be integrated into other systems. There's also the ArcGIS Python APIs for scripting and automating the entire platform. And then finally, there's ArcGIS Pro add-ins, which allow developers to customize specific tools for the desktop client ArcGIS Pro. Now, we've engineered ArcGIS to be a complete GIS platform with 5 core GIS systems all working together. And some of you may be only leveraging 1 or 2 of these systems, and that's okay. You can start where it makes sense and over time move towards a complete GIS platform. But utilizing a complete GIS platform instead of GIS in a singular application is the best way for a modern utility or telecom to utilize geospatial intelligence in their business to maximize the return on investment of their GIS. For example, in network management, you can receive immense return by lighting up your organization by allowing them to utilize the data stored in the system of record, your network asset information, using the GIS to help design and plan the new network, sharing and collaboration across that entire workflow. You need to get information from one group, the planners, to the engineers, to contractors, to construction crews, and allowing management teams to make decisions along the way, and even engaging with customers to give them an update on when services will be available. Enabling field mobility, getting some of those network plans out into the hands of construction crews to confirm as-builts, and doing analytics, maybe to optimize new network builds of where to deploy 5G or fiber, and utilizing that mapping and visualization to give additional insight. Another example here is on the operations side. Again, leveraging the system of record, that authoritative source of the network information, and sharing and collaboration around that, and even incorporating monitoring to have that real-time view and a dashboard of what's going on in the network to alert other members of the organization and departments to help inform on decisions, and engaging with constituents or customers, letting them know where there's outages and time to restoration. Field mobility, maybe after a storm and the network goes down, crews need to be sent out to get that network back up and running. So getting them access to tablets where they can take that network information offline in a disconnected state and still collect information and do their job. And analytics to report on how many customers may be affected so we can let our management teams know. And then again, using that mapping and visualization. One third one here for the business development side, for the marketing and sales, and really sharing in collaboration across those two departments, and even sharing back to the network teams. So on the telecom side, letting the marketing and sales team inform network where to deploy a new network and where new services need to be available. Letting management teams know and helping support decisions. Letting customers know where coverage maps, service availability, and utilizing the analytics to help with demographic analysis or market analysis to really understand where those new services should be deployed. And once again, mapping and visualization to bring more insight. Now, what we'd like to do is one additional audience poll. And for this poll, what we'd like to ask is, which of the GIS systems that we've just covered here has your organization already implemented? So you'll be able to choose one or more of the systems. So has your organization deployed a system of record for really managing the location aspect of geographic information? A system of engagement for taking that data and then sharing it through web maps and applications to other departments? Or how about a system of insights, really leveraging the analytical tools a part of GIS and sharing them across the business? Or a system for IoT, making the GIS come alive with the real-time sensor feeds? And then finally, are you leveraging a system for developers to extend GIS technology in your organization? So a few more results are coming in here, and we'll give everybody just a couple more seconds to finish up. And we will close the poll and share the results. So it looks like the majority of our audience today is using GIS for a system of record, and that's great. And that's where traditionally GIS has been used. And as we've seen, the pattern of starting to share that information more and more to other departments is occurring. System of engagement at 65%, and about 40% for system of insights, with system of IoT kind of at the last tier here of 16%. All right, and with that, what I'd like to do is turn it over to Joseph Marsh to give a demonstration of the Complete GIS platform and really show how these 5 systems all come together to support the business. Joseph?
Thank you, Patrick. ArcGIS is used as a system of record for utility and telecommunication companies across the globe. And they use applications like ArcGIS Pro to maintain the consistency and accuracy of their network data. Here at this zoom level, we can see some overhead and underground medium voltage conductors. And if we zoom in, we can see more details about the rest of our assets. Now, if I want to look up a certain asset, I can go ahead and search for something like a pole that I'm going to work on. And it'll zoom to that asset, and I can pull up its asset information. The system of record for this pole lives here in ArcGIS. Next, I want to share with you about just how easy it is to share with the ArcGIS platform. I can go ahead and name my map and select which groups I want to share it with, and able to see this map through a web browser or on a mobile device. So let's go ahead and jump over to our portal. Here's our system of engagement, or our electric company's homepage. And across this page, we can see the 4 most commonly used applications by members within our organization. This way, if a user wants to get information about weather or see an outage viewer, they can very easily get to this information. Across the bottom, we have subgroups based around distribution, transmission, and generation. So let's jump into distribution. Within this group, we can see focused areas based around departments within your organization. Let's go ahead and take a look at the same map that we were seeing before inside of our web browser. Here, we're seeing the same information that was once siloed within our GIS department available to the rest of the organization. We can see the same overhead and underground distribution lines, as well as higher detailed information. Let's search for the same pole that we saw before. It zooms to that area, and I can pull up the same asset information that we saw on the desktop. This is also available on mobile apps. So let's jump over to my iPad. Across the top of my iPad, there are a number of ArcGIS applications available in the App Store and the Google Play Store. And today I want to show you Explorer for ArcGIS. Here I can see the maps that I most commonly use in my day-to-day workflow. And at the top, we have the same map that we saw before in the web browser. Here I can see all the same overhead and underground distribution lines, as well as other assets within my network. And I can search for the same pole that I searched for in my web browser and pull up that same exact record data. These are a few examples of how Esri's system of engagement can provide information on any device, anywhere, anytime. So let's jump over to the next system. Here we have a dashboard of our gas network, and we perform geoanalytics on this data to provide reports of what we have out in the field. So on the left, we're seeing that we have almost 4,500 steel services, about 27,000 plastic services, and just 5 cast iron services. On the right, we see services broken down by material, as well as miles of main broken down by material. The hotspot that we're seeing in the map in the middle is data of our problematic active leaks in our system. And when we zoom in closer, we can start to see where those leaks are actually occurring. This is a great example of how performing geoanalytics on data within our system of record can easily be pushed out to the rest of our organization with a simple, easy-to-use web application. The next system that I'd like to share with you is our system for IoT. We created this dashboard from our electric data, and it's bringing in real-time information about outages from our outage management system, as well as the real-time information of where our service trucks are. On the left, we can see active outage events as they change in real time out in the field. And below that, we can see what's causing these outages. Next, we can see the damaged facilities that are contributing to these outage events. On the bottom, we can see the total amount of damage reports coming in from the field and more details about those reports. And on the right, we can see the number of customers that are being affected by these outages and a breakdown of what type of customer. The map in the middle is showing our service trucks in real time as they head to these damaged facilities to restore service to their customers. Next, I want to show our system for developers. Everything that I've shown so far is configurable with ArcGIS Platform, but we also have a number of APIs and SDKs to enable new apps to be created, as well as integration with your other systems with geographic information. In summary, I showed how the ArcGIS platform can take your system of record and unlock it to provide information to the entire organization. I also showed how our system of record can provide rich attribute data about your network facilities. Next, I demonstrated how we can use our system of insights to provide geoanalytics on our gas network and current leaks within our system, and push that information out into an easy-to-use application for the rest of the organization. Next, I showed our system for IoT, or our electric network, and how we can bring in real-time information from our outage management system, as well as where our vehicles are in real time, to monitor our system and really bring our map to life. And finally, underlying all these other systems is our system for developers, which allows our customers and our partners to create new apps, as well as integrate the ArcGIS platform into your already existing systems. Esri is the only software company that can provide all of these systems in a complete GIS package. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Patrick to share with you what's new at our 10.6 release for utilities and telecoms.
Awesome. Thanks, Joseph. Great example of how these 5 systems really come together to support the business. So what we'd like to do now is share with you some of the new updates to ArcGIS 10.6, specifically for utilities and telecommunications. Now, although there are a lot more updates to ArcGIS 10.6 than the ones that we will share with you today, we wanted to highlight our favorites for utilities and telecommunications. Starting with the system of record, and one major product release was the Utility Network Management Extension. And this extension was built for utilities and telecoms to really overcome the network management challenges of today and in the future. And some of those features and capabilities include tiered and sub-network management, as well as new industry data models that sit on top, the ability to do sophisticated analysis on the network from anywhere, its services architecture, enabling network capabilities to be available across a complete GIS platform, enhanced cartography and data quality tools, meaning you can manage the complexities of the physical network and the complexities of the logical network and be able to visually represent all of those on a map. Very highly performant capabilities, as well as being able to model low fidelity and now high fidelity data within your network. And there's a set of COTS data migration tools to help with the data migration into the network. And all of these features are accessible across the entire Esri platform and provides access to all capabilities through that web services-based architecture that is available on any device or web application. And more on this new utility network in our next webinar on April 18th. So along with the utility network, we've improved versioning capabilities within the geodatabase. And now we support SAP HANA as a data store type. And finally, in addition to the thousands of data layers available in the Living Atlas, we've released better imagery globally and a suite of vector tile maps, tile-based maps that are very performant on web and mobile clients. For our system of engagement, there are new configurable web-based operations dashboards to really help support the decision-making. And in the suite of ArcGIS mobile apps, Collector now integrates with high-accuracy GPS devices, and Explore allows for map markup to be stored directly in the system of engagement, meaning that field crews can take the maps out in the field and digitize directly on top of the network and report that information back in real time. And Survey 123 can enable barcode scanning of utility assets and photo markup, which can allow users to take a photo and then add a note directly on top of the picture. And finally, Portal for ArcGIS, which is that system of engagement, allows for distributed collaboration, which means that you can set up multiple portals for sharing with each other instead of just one portal with multiple groups. Now, this is great for large organizations who need to stand up multiple systems of engagement and allow for that collaboration. Within the GIS system of insight, we've improved the ability to share analysis models as web services. And this means that you can set up a network trace and enable users to run that trace on a mobile device. We've also improved our advanced analytics integration to R and new machine learning tools to run on all of that big data within your organizations. And lastly, insights for ArcGIS. Esri's tool for exploring data through interactive, connected charts, graphs, and maps is available in the software as a service version of ArcGIS called ArcGIS Online. A lot of improvements have also been made to our GIS system for the Internet of Things, or IoT. Our geoevent server product can now handle up to 6,000 events per second and scale out to enable failover. ArcGIS can also be used as a complete out-of-the-box IoT platform or complement an existing IoT platform and enhance it with location and mapping capabilities. And improvements have also been made to the ArcGIS Big Data Store called Spatiotemporal, which now supports 3D points and on-the-fly spatial aggregations. Finally, for our developer community, developers.arcgis.com has been redesigned to better serve you. We've improved how you find each resource, and each code example is now accompanied by a live example. And ArcGIS API for JavaScript is Esri's next generation JavaScript API that integrates 2D and 3D into a single, easy to use, powerful API. All right, so finally, let's start talking about how we get started utilizing a Complete GIS platform and deploying ArcGIS. Now, there are two ways to deploy the ArcGIS platform. There's ArcGIS Enterprise, which is the on-premise version, and ArcGIS Online, which I mentioned earlier, and that is the cloud-based SaaS offering. And how do all of the applications that we saw earlier and capabilities that come together in these 5 systems to form the Complete GIS platform? Well, first, let's start with the infrastructure tier, where the system of records, system of insights, and system for IoT work together. We've allowed for workload separation and high availability, along with load balancing. And all of those capabilities are then expressed or served out as web services or GIS services that include map services, vector tile services, streaming services of that real-time information, as well as the analysis services, geoprocessing services. And those services come together in that system of engagement, or the portal for ArcGIS. And that's really where the identity management happens. So myself as the user, when I log in, I get access to the content to help my day-to-day tasks, as well as the security and what we call the geoinformation model that takes those services and translate them into layers in which we can bring the layers together in a variety of different web maps and use those web maps to serve the next tier here of the applications. And there are a variety of out-of-the-box or COTS configurable applications available with ArcGIS that consume those web maps. And these applications span the web, mobile, and desktop clients. And this is really where the common patterns of use come in, and where the solutions are created around data management that includes analytics or allowing for the constituent engagement through an application. And then finally, we've got the system for developers allowing for agile development. And this system really spans all others and gives the developers access to those APIs and SDKs for customizing those applications or integrating ArcGIS into third-party systems. Now, if you need assistance configuring any of the ArcGIS platform or extending a Complete GIS platform into your other systems, there are tons of utility and telecommunication partners that are available and committed to your success. So finally, just to reiterate, Emerging industry as well as technology trends are impacting all of our businesses and really creating new requirements for GIS. GIS can no longer be just a singular application, but it must be evolved into a complete GIS platform. And ArcGIS is a complete GIS platform with an integrated system of engagement, system of record, system of insights, system for IoT, and system for developers. So what should you do next? Well, start looking at ways to incorporate more of those common GIS patterns of use into your current workflows. And if you haven't already, migrate to WebGIS and set up that base deployment of your complete GIS platform. And if you're only using one or two of those GIS systems today, start to leverage additional GIS systems in your platform to add additional value to your organizations and get that return on investment of your GIS. And finally, if you have any other questions about a complete GIS platform, please reach out to us, your Esri representative, or email us at geoconnectsinfo@esri.com with any of your questions. And with that, I'd like to turn it back over to Randy to recap our upcoming webinars and open it up for questions. Randy?
Fantastic, Patrick. Thank you, and Joseph, for that wonderful presentation here. Before I talk a little bit more about the webinar series, I want to remind everybody, submit your questions. We're getting a lot of questions in. Want to try to get to answer all of them. Please submit the questions now, and we'll be going through them in a minute here. As I said earlier, this today was part of the 2018 GeoConnects webinar series. You now have more information about what we're going to be covering in greater detail on April 18th, which is data management. Monitoring is going to be the May 15th one, constituent engagement on June 13th, field mobility on September 12th, and then analytics closing out the year on October 10th. So please, as you get invitations for those, feel free to sign up for those, and they will be recorded. That was one of the questions we did get today. This webinar is recorded, as will all the future webinars. So please sign up for them and ensure that, if you can't attend them personally on the day and time that we have allocated, you'll at least get the link to be able to go look at the video as well. All right, here are some of the questions that are coming in. Our organization has only used GIS as a system of record. This tool has been stovepiped. How do we engage other departments, and then how would increasing the use affect our licensing? Patrick, Joseph, you want to take that one?
Sure thing. So we've seen this happen quite often. And really what we've seen be valuable is setting up basically meetings and introductory sessions with the other departments and really doing kind of what we call a discovery session, talking about some of the pain points of the other departments and exploring ways that GIS can really help kind of overcome their challenges today, and getting them kind of on board and putting together little proof of concept projects that take some of that core system of record data and building it into an application that helps support some of their workflows. Now, how would this increase and affect the licensing? Depending on the licensing that you have today, if you're deploying a system of engagement and the number of users that you're accessing that could be accessing the system, there's a variety of ways that could be affecting your licensing. My suggestion would be to reach out to your Esri representative to talk more about the licensing and how to potentially set up some of these types of webinars internally for your organization to show them the value of ArcGIS.
Great, thank you, Patrick. Here's one. How can I display the flow direction for transmission lines in real time?
That is a good question. I think that is something that we can take offline. We have the question and who asked it, and we can reach out to you with one of our solution engineers to explore how you're modeling that flow in your kind of system of record or network management today, and explore some ways of tying that up to geoevent server and the real-time aspects.
Okay, great. What if I have data in a non-Esri system?
That's okay too. We have many organizations that are utilizing other GIS systems as well as just other systems with geospatial information and leveraging it in a ArcGIS system of engagement through ETL processes. We're transferring and loading it into ArcGIS on a nightly basis, or a data dump once a month, or just converting it into an ArcGIS format. So not having the geospatial information in ArcGIS, we can still extract it and start doing some additional analytics on it or sharing it out through information products.
Okay, thank you. Can we move the attribute window in ArcGIS Online as it sometimes overlaps my data?
If you click on a feature within ArcGIS Online, you should be able to grab the pop-up window and move it around. The other way would be to pan and zoom around your map, and the pop-up will kind of move around. If that functionality isn't quite serving what you need it to do, there is on our GeoNet site, our ArcGIS kind of community, there's an ideas.arcgis page that you can submit enhancements to our platform. So my suggestion would be to submit that enhancement, and then our product teams will be able to take those enhancements into consideration for future releases.
Okay, great. Can you scale geoevent server on multiple machines in ArcGIS Enterprise 10.6, or is this for 10.6.1?
So actually at 10.5.1, well, actually at 10.5, you can scale out geoevent to multiple machines. Really what was evolved or enhanced at 10.6 was a kind of a hub where as data is coming into geoevent, that hub can distribute the input into multiple machines. So if one of those machines fails, then the data coming into that machine won't just stop coming in. It can be redistributed to another machine. But as far as scaling out geoevent to handle the load, that was available at 10.5.
Okay. Here's one about vector tiles. What makes vector tiles unique? Is vector tile one type of tile?
That's a great question. So with traditional maybe raster caching or traditional caching methods, essentially at every zoom level that you want to cache your maps, you're taking a PNG or a snapshot image of that. And as soon as that data is changed, then you've got to republish up those PNGs. And those image files are large, they take a long time to produce. And so vector tiles is a new way of creating those snapshots that also include the rich attribute information and metadata stored with those features. So the actual features are also stored in those tiles, allowing you to do things like rotate the map and still have labels that move with the map, and pulling out attribute information from those features. And because it's not using kind of a picture snapshot anymore, it takes a lot less time to produce a vector tile map and cache it and publish it up, and a lot less storage of those maps. There's a lot of great blogs out there around vector tiles. Check GeoNet, check our ArcGIS blog, or reach out to myself or Joseph, and we can direct you to where those blogs are for more details.
Do I need to have ArcGIS server to use the utility data model?
Yes. So the new utility network extension is an extension to the ArcGIS Enterprise, which at 10.5 ArcGIS Enterprise includes the traditional server product and portal for ArcGIS as one software package. Because the new utility network is all services based, it means when I access the utility network from ArcGIS Pro, the desktop client, I'm actually accessing the network through those web services instead of directly accessing the database. So in order to utilize the new utility network, you'll need to have 10.5, actually 10.6 installed in order to be able to leverage the kind of services-based architecture of the utility network.
Does Esri have fiber optic line data?
So this question comes up quite often. The two most, I would say, common questions from utilities and telecom customers as far as do you have this data are fiber and poles. And the answer to both of those is always no, not really. We do have some partners that provide some of that kind of land-based information, if you would call it. But you know, if you're looking for dark fiber availability, if you're looking for an entire map of the US of where there is fiber, that is something that between the different service providers out there and infrastructure providers, they typically don't share, and there's no really one repository all of that. If you are interested, we do have some options that have pretty good databases, but Esri doesn't compile and offer a complete pole or fiber asset database.
Okay, thank you. Does a system of insights work with big data?
100%, yes. So part of our development and investment in our own technology has been to advance our big data analytical tools. So I mentioned spatiotemporal as a kind of geodatabase on steroids, if you would, for managing big data. There's also a server product called GeoAnalytics Server, where a lot of our analytical tools from the desktop have been enhanced and pushed server side to allow for multiple machines to run analytics on lots and lots of data. So between the big data store, and even some users are using things like SAP HANA or Hadoop and using GeoAnalytics and our analytical tools on that data. So the answer is yes, you can use our system of insights to help crunch a lot of that big data.
You mentioned the SAP HANA. Here's a question relating to that. Can you explain SAP HANA capabilities? Why is this a good thing? How is this different than past traditional data, different than traditional databases of the past?
Yeah, so that's another great question. And I am not an SAP HANA expert, but we'll definitely have somebody reach out to you. We've been doing a lot of work with SAP to make sure that ArcGIS can run on SAP HANA. And so we've got a lot of materials that can go into more detail on what SAP HANA is, its capabilities, and how it plugs into ArcGIS.
Okay. When will 10.6.1 be released? I heard dashboard would be embedded in the portal in 10.6.1.
Sorry, could you repeat that one?
Sure. When will 10.6.1 be released? I heard dashboard would be embedded in the portal in 10.6.1.
So at 10.6, you can sideload operations dashboard, the new web one, into ArcGIS Enterprise. It will come natively out of the box at 10.6.1, and the 10.6.1 release should come sometime around the UC timeframe. User conference timeframe. So June, I think it is this year, July?
Yeah, it's in June. No, it's in July. Yeah. Yeah, and I heard the release for 10.6.1, I've heard summer. So yes, around the UC. Okay. All right. Is there a solution that most companies implement when they first start using GIS?
I would say that it varies. Is there one particular solution? I would think that the solution solves a particular business problem. So are there certain products or apps? You know, traditionally, GIS has been a desktop-based application for GIS professionals. So things like ArcMap and now ArcGIS Pro have been the app that companies traditionally have started using to manage the system of record data, do the analytics through the desktop, create those map products. More and more organizations are now getting value out of that kind of system of engagement and sharing that map up, and then just creating very lightweight, simple to use applications. There's a lot of value in a very easy to use app where before maybe AppZilla or Mapzilla was the trend, put all your data in the map, put all your layers in there, but it was a little overwhelming. So there's been a transition to more lighter weight focused apps with subsets of data. And then those applications can be accessible from web or mobile. So I would say, you know, solutions built around those lighter weight apps are traditionally, well, I shouldn't say traditionally, have been the trend in where organizations are starting to utilize the GIS.
Okay. How do we share out map data with clients over the web using ArcGIS Enterprise?
Yep, so over the web. There's a couple different ways to do that, right? You have ArcGIS Enterprise that sits on your own infrastructure behind a firewall. So you can take and open up, to go into a little bit more detail, basically an open port where you have some of those maps and services that then can be accessible through your firewall through that open port. A lot of our customers are starting to take that data and do that kind of portal to portal collaboration, and having layers be replicated in a like ArcGIS Online account, where as soon as that layer on ArcGIS Enterprise updates, it's replicated in the ArcGIS Online, and then having maps and other applications hosted in ArcGIS Online that are shared publicly. So there's a couple different options. You know, my best suggestion would be to, again, kind of reach out to your representative and a solution engineer to kind of walk through the options and what would be best for your organization.
Okay, thank you. Is there a way to get quick data by hovering over an asset without clicking on it?
So that is a good question. I'm not 100% sure, but I would say that it would be available in kind of our developer framework in the JavaScript libraries. That is a user interface type of capability, and I've seen it done. You know, where you can hover over something and it even expands out to multiple features that may be in that area. Then you hover over another, and then it comes out. So it's very possible that that capability is part of our JavaScript library. It would just take some kind of hunting for it, or again, kind of reach out to either myself, Joseph, or your Esri rep to you know, see if we can't look into that further.
Okay. Here's one about the utility network. Do you need to utilize the utility network with 10.6, or can I still use the geometric network?
It's a great question. You can still utilize the geometric network. And there seems to be a lot of questions around the utility network, which is awesome. And I'll just kind of reiterate that our next webinar in this series will be around that data management pattern with a real heavy focus on the utility network. So for those of you that are interested and have the questions, we'll be going into far more detail on kind of the ins and outs, how it's set up, how to use it, what are the capabilities today, and kind of the best practices. So be sure to check that one out on April 18th.
And I want to be cognizant of our time. We're coming up top of the hour. We appreciate everybody's participation. Unfortunately, we did not get to all the questions. We still have many more questions, and we'll be reaching out to the individuals that asked those questions to get the response back to them. And then also we have a number of resources available to you that you can access. We have a very active telecommunications user group and EGUG, electric and gas user group. We have GeoNet. We also have Twitter. So feel free to use these social media capabilities as well, and our user groups. A great source of expertise and resources to be able to use it. But like I said, appreciate everyone's time in today's webinar, and we'll be getting back to you, those people that we did not answer their questions. So thank you very much, and thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Patrick. Everybody have a great day.